My parents have always treated my sister like she could do no wrong, while I was told to be grateful for what you have, and lived off of her crumbs. Now that I'm finally ready to move out into my own apartment, they're desperate to keep me around, and begging me not to go. I had no idea about their weird attitude change until 1 month after moving out. I received an invoice from them, and suddenly it all started to make sense. Recently, I finally made the decision to move out of my parents' house. For me, this feels like a huge step in life. For as long as I can remember, I've dreamed about having my own space, somewhere that's truly mine, where I can live the way I want, make my own choices, and enjoy the freedom of being independent. But now that I've made this choice, my parents aren't taking it well at all. In fact, they're really upset about it. To give you some background, I'm the oldest daughter in my family. I also have a younger sister. Growing up, my parents relied on me a lot, not just for regular household responsibilities, but also when it came to taking care of my sister. In many ways, it felt like I was expected to act as a second parent to her, stepping in to handle things that should have been my parents' job. Because of that, I've carried a lot of responsibility on my shoulders from a very young age. So, naturally, you'd think that after everything I've done, my parents and even my sister would treat me with a little more respect, right? Well, that couldn't be further from the truth. My parents have never truly appreciated the things I've done for them. No matter how much I helped or how hard I worked, it was never enough. They always demanded more from me. By the time I was just 15, I was already expected to take on adult responsibilities around the house. My mom relied on me heavily for chores and cooking, and both my parents acted like it was my duty to cater to their needs every single day. On top of that, if I ever wanted to go out and spend time with my friends like a normal teenager, they wouldn't allow it. Instead, they'd guilt me into staying home or even go as far as taking away my phone to make sure I didn't leave. My mom would constantly remind me that as the oldest child, it was my duty to put my family first and to take care of my younger sister. To her, spending time with friends or doing things for myself was just wasting time. She made it clear that my role in the family came before anything else. On the rare occasion when I was actually allowed to go out, it never truly felt like freedom. My parents would insist that I take my sister along with me, no matter what I was doing or who I was meeting. Imagine being a teenager, finally getting a chance to hang out with your friends, and then having to drag your little sister everywhere with you. It was awkward, frustrating, and honestly embarrassing. Instead of enjoying myself, I'd often feel weighed down by responsibility, even outside the house. As my sister got older, she started to notice the dynamic in our family too. It became obvious, even to her, that she was the favorite. It often felt like she could do no wrong in my parents' eyes. And on occasion, when she did mess up, somehow the blame would always come back to me. For example, if she didn't finish her homework properly or if her grades slipped, my dad wouldn't just scold her. He would also punish me right alongside her. He would yell, saying things like how he and my mom didn't have the time to teach us and that they had already sacrificed so much to send us to school. Then he would put the responsibility on me, telling me that as the older sister, it was my job to make sure my sister performed well academically. Another clear example of favoritism was with chores. Whenever there were household tasks to be done, like cleaning, cooking, or running errands, it was always me who got called on. My sister, on the other hand, was rarely asked to lift a finger. If I ever complained or pointed out how unfair that was, my parents would defend her, saying things like, "She's younger. She needs to relax and focus on her studies," or, "You're the older one, so don't complain so much." What made it sting even more was how much my sister seemed to enjoy this treatment. She would sit back and watch me doing all the work, sometimes even teasing me about it, saying things like, "Well, you're the oldest. That's your job." She knew she was the favorite. And instead of feeling guilty, she used it to her advantage. She would constantly sneak off to parties late at night, something I could never even dream of doing without facing huge consequences. And the worst part? If my parents ever found out about her sneaking out, they wouldn't hold her accountable. Instead, they would point the finger at me. They'd accuse me of putting ideas in her head or of making her rebellious, as if she had no mind of her own and could do no wrong unless I was somehow behind it. All of this slowly created a wall between me and my sister. Instead of being close, we ended up fighting all the time. She never really respected me, probably because she grew up seeing how little respect my parents gave me. To her, I was just someone she could order around, someone who was always supposed to be there for her whenever she wanted, almost like a personal assistant rather than a sibling. When it was time for me to go to college, I already knew deep down that I needed to choose a school far away from home. I thought that would finally give me some space and independence, but my dad completely shut that idea down. He flat out threatened me, saying that if I didn't choose a college nearby, he would cut me off financially. I was only 18 at the time, still figuring life out, and I had never done anything completely on my own before. Faced with that kind of pressure, I gave in to his demands and stayed close to home, even though it wasn't what I wanted for myself. Later on, when I managed to get a part-time job, I felt a small sense of pride that I could finally earn my own money. But that didn't last long either. My parents demanded that I send half of my paycheck back home. It didn't matter how many hours I worked or how tired I was. I was expected to hand over my hard-earned money without question. Instead of getting to save up for my future or even enjoy the fruits of my labor, I was made to feel like my earnings weren't mine at all. Looking back now, I realize how naive I was. At the time, I truly believed that if I just kept doing everything my parents wanted, they would eventually see me for who I really am and love me for it. I thought their approval was something I could earn if I sacrificed enough of myself. But no matter how much I gave, no matter how obedient I was, that moment of recognition and appreciation never came. Things finally reached a breaking point one Christmas when I went back home. I was in college then, and naturally, I wanted to share parts of my life, how my classes were going, what I was learning, and the small achievements I was proud of. But my sister, who had ended up at a community college because her grades weren't as strong, grew jealous almost immediately. She couldn't stand that for once the spotlight was on me and that I had something positive to share with our parents. My sister started verbally attacking me right in front of her boyfriend, who had come over for the first time to meet our family. She didn't hold back. She mocked me and taunted me, saying that no matter which college I went to, I would always be a loner and that people like me were just forgettable. What made it even worse was that my parents didn't intervene at all. They just stood by silently while she tore me down. I could see her boyfriend sitting next to her, clearly uncomfortable, unsure of how to react. I tried to stand up for myself and told her to knock it off, hoping she might stop. She didn't. Instead, she went even further, attacking me personally. She started making fun of my weight and saying how disgusted she was to be related to me. She called me a nerdy girl with no social life, trying to humiliate me in front of everyone, including her boyfriend. I argued back, telling her that maybe in her eyes, I was a nerd, but at least I had earned a scholarship, was going to a good college, and had a future ahead of me. I reminded her that unlike her, I was responsible. I worked hard, held a part-time job, and even sent money back home to help out our parents, while she stayed at home and enjoyed their support without contributing anything. But instead of feeling guilty or reflecting on her actions, my sister just laughed in my face. She gloated and said, "Oh, you think you're helping our parents with the money you sent home? Guess what? Mom and Dad have actually been giving that money to me for my monthly expenses. So, in reality, you've been working hard just to pay for my lifestyle while I don't have to worry about a thing." She looked so happy saying all of this, while I just sat there dumbfounded. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, that my parents had been asking me for money every month, not to help the household, but just to hand it over to my good-for-nothing sister. Furious, I turned to my dad and demanded to know if it was true. His response shocked me even more. He said it was none of my business how they used my money. And even worse, he added that even if the money was being given to my sister, it was still put to good use. I felt completely powerless and betrayed. I argued back furiously, telling them that I was the one working day and night after college, putting in long hours at my part-time job. I reminded them that when they forced me to send money back home, I had believed it was to help the household, to support the family, not to fund my sister's lifestyle. I couldn't understand how all my hard work and sacrifices were being handed over to someone who had never had to work or take responsibility for anything. It was like all the effort I had put in, all the late nights and exhausted days, meant nothing. My anger wasn't just about the money. It was about being treated unfairly, being used, and being ignored despite everything I had done for the family. My mom then jumped to defend my sister. She told me that I had no right to question how they used my money. According to her, since my sister still doesn't have a job, it was their responsibility to help her out, and giving her the money I had been sending home was just part of that. I couldn't hold back anymore. I screamed, "What about me? Why can't you help me too? Why can't you both send me money as well?" My mom just shook her head and told me that I should be grateful for what I have. She said that sending money back home was what any respectable person does for their family and that I shouldn't be greedy or selfish for expecting anything in return. I felt so bad at that moment that I just burst out crying. It hit me all at once. My sister always seemed to get everything she wanted while I was left to make do with the scraps. Her life was easy, carefree, and protected, while no matter what I did, my parents didn't seem to care about me or my struggles. Feeling crushed, I got up from the table and went into my room to be alone. As I closed the door behind me, I could still hear my sister and parents shouting after me, calling me a snowflake and dramatic for reacting the way I did. After that disastrous Christmas, the moment I got back to college, I made a firm decision. I would stop sending money back home. I realized that no matter how much I gave, it would never be appreciated or used in a way that felt fair. My parents called me repeatedly, screaming and trying to guilt me into sending the money, but I didn't care anymore. My sister also called, yelling at me about why I wasn't sending money, claiming that mom and dad couldn't afford her expenses and that she needed me to help. I blocked her calls without a second thought. At that point, I decided something important for myself. My parents didn't really like or respect me anyway, so it was better for me to be selfish for once. I finally started prioritizing my own life, my own needs, and my own future. It was the first step toward taking control of my independence and breaking free from my toxic family. After I made the decision to stop sending money home, I focused on myself and my future. I started saving up as much money as I could, and to earn even more, I began tutoring my juniors. I had always done well in school, had good grades, so it was easy to find students who wanted to learn from me. Teaching them not only helped me financially, but also gave me a sense of independence and pride in my own abilities. After graduation, I had a promising job lined up, and it felt like all my hard work was finally paying off. But then, unfortunately, I got into a car accident that left me bedridden for a while. For the first time, my parents actually showed some compassion. They invited me to come back home to recover, offering to help me until I could eventually find a job and settle down. It felt strange. After all the years of indifference and mistreatment, suddenly they were acting like they cared about my well-being. At the time, I knew I needed help, and I didn't really have any other options. So, I accepted their invitation and moved back home. But I didn't tell them that it was only temporary. Deep down, I had already made up my mind. As soon as I recovered, I would start applying for jobs in other cities so I could finally move out and build a life of my own. Now, 3 months later, things are finally falling into place. I've landed my dream job at the company I've always wanted to work for. On top of that, I've spoken with a real estate agent and everything is set. I'll be moving into my own apartment next week. Today, I finally told my parents about my plans to move out. As soon as I said it, they immediately erupted in anger. My mom and dad both started insisting that leaving wasn't a good idea. They told me they wanted me to stay at home to look after them as they got older, as if that was my responsibility. I couldn't help but scoff at the suggestion, and I reminded them firmly that I wasn't their caretaker. It wasn't my job to sacrifice my life for them. If they really needed someone to help, I pointed out, perhaps they could ask my sister. After all, she essentially lives with them and has never had to fend for herself like I have. My dad argued back, saying that my sister wasn't responsible enough and that as the oldest, it was my duty to stay and take care of them. I refused to accept that. I told them clearly that I didn't care why they expected it of me. I was done living my life for their approval. I had spent years sacrificing my own needs and dreams to satisfy them, and it was finally my turn to put myself first. Since that conversation, my parents have been blaming me relentlessly. They accused me of backstabbing them and of abandoning them in their old age, as if I were betraying them by finally claiming my independence. Their words sting, but deep down I know I'm making the right choice for myself. So, Reddit, Ida? Update 1. Answering some of your questions here. Question: what happened with your car accident after graduation? I was driving home from a friend's place when another car ran a red light and hit me on the side. The impact was strong enough that my car was badly damaged and I ended up in the hospital with multiple injuries. I had to stay in bed for weeks, unable to move much or do anything on my own. It was terrifying, Not just physically but mentally too, because I had always been so independent and self-reliant. Being completely dependent on others, even for basic tasks like eating and getting around, was humbling and scary. Thankfully, my parents showed me some compassion and helped out. I have fully recovered now. Question: do you feel guilty that your parents helped you after your accident, but now you're moving out? A little at first. I know I needed help back then, and I'm grateful they let me recover at home. But their help came after years of neglect, control, and emotional manipulation. I can't let this one act of assistance make me sacrifice my entire life for them. Staying with them is toxic and not good for my mental health. Moving out doesn't erase the support they have given. I will always be there for them when they need me, but in limited capacity. Question: how are you feeling about your move? Nervous but excited. It's scary to take such a big step, but it feels liberating too. For the first time in my life, I'm making a choice that's truly mine without trying to earn someone else's approval. Question: are you worried about your family's reaction to your news of moving out? A little, yes, but I've realized that no matter how much I stayed or sacrificed, they never appreciated me. Their anger now doesn't change that I need to take care of myself. Question: what's your relationship like with your sister now? Honestly, it's still tense. She's incredibly jealous of me, always has been, and moving out is only making that worse. She acts like I'm abandoning her or stealing everything, even though I've spent years being responsible and sacrificing for her. I've been limiting contact with her as much as I can, and it's actually helping me focus on my own life. Question: will you continue sending money home after you move out? No, absolutely not. I've realized that my parents have been misusing the money for years, and I'm done being responsible for their or my sister's lifestyle. The money I earn is just for me and my future. Update 2. I finally did it. I finally moved out. And let me tell you, it was a complete fiasco. The moment I started packing my things, my parents erupted, screaming, yelling, blaming me for abandoning them in their old age and for betraying the family. My sister joined in too, yelling at me about how selfish I was, how I was leaving her behind to deal with the parents, and all sorts of other accusations. It was chaotic, messy, and honestly a little terrifying. For a moment, I almost questioned myself, but only for a second. Despite the screaming, the guilt-tripping, all the chaos, I stayed calm and kept moving my things. I told myself over and over that this was my life, my independence, and my time to finally breathe. Nothing they could say would change the fact that I had been planning this for months, saving up and working towards this moment for years. And now I'm finally settled in my new apartment. It feels incredible. The space is mine, my rules, my freedom. No one is telling me what to do. No one is screaming at me for living my life. And for the first time in forever, I feel truly happy. I can cook what I want, decorate how I like, and even just enjoy some peace and quiet when I need it. I feel amazing. Update 3. It's just been 1 month since I moved out. And guess what? I just got an invoice from my parents for my monthly expenses. Yup. Turns out the 3 months I spent with them after my accident, that wasn't free. According to them, all that care, food, and shelter I thought I was gratefully receiving actually came with a bill. I couldn't stop laughing and crying a little at the absurdity. After years of working, sacrificing, sending them money, they somehow decided I still owe them for time spent bedridden under their care. If you think the invoice was bad, my dad also sent me an email detailing what a menace I've supposedly been in their lives since I was young. According to him, they've spent thousands of dollars raising me, sacrificed so much, and what did they get in return? An ungrateful and selfish daughter, me. He went on and on about how much they've done for me, framing it like I owe them my entire life. And then, as the cherry on top, he said that the least I could do now, after turning my back on them, was to pay them back for the 3 months they took care of me after my accident, because apparently I'm an adult now and shouldn't have had to rely on them at all. Honestly, I feel so done with my family. What kind of parents treat their own child this way? After everything I've done, after all the sacrifices I've made for them over the years, this is how they see me, as ungrateful and selfish. I had an accident. I needed help. And now, instead of support or compassion, they expect me to pay them back for taking care of me. It's absurd. And the kicker? I know they'd never treat my sister this way. She's never had to earn anything, never had to work for anything. and yet I'm expected to shoulder all the responsibility, even financially. They'll never ask her to pay them back for anything because somehow she's always special in their eyes. It's exhausting, infuriating, and honestly heartbreaking to see how differently they treat me compared to my sister. For now, I've decided not to reply to this email. Honestly, I don't even know what I could say that would make them understand me. They'll just twist it into more guilt-tripping or accusations. One thing is clear though, I will not be paying them back for anything. Those 3 months I spent recovering under their care, that was never a debt I agreed to, and I refuse to let them treat me like I owe them. Instead, I'm trying to focus on myself, my new job, my apartment. I'm finally free to live life on my own terms, make my own decisions, and enjoy some peace without constant shouting or manipulation. So, that's what I'm going to be focused on. Update 4. It's been 2 weeks since my last update, and of course, my parents have sent me another email. This time they're insisting that the least I could do is pay them back by sending money home every month. And suddenly it all started to make sense. I realize now that this is exactly what they've wanted all along. They want me to start sending money again, just like I did back in college, so they can continue funding my sister's lavish lifestyle. Me? I'm not the child they care about. They just see me as a convenient money bag. It's frustrating, infuriating, and honestly a little sad to finally see their true intentions so clearly. But at the same time, now that I know their intentions, I decided to send them one last email, a reply that I think was long overdue and befitting. I wanted to make it crystal clear where I stand without leaving room for manipulation or guilt. Copying and pasting the email here. Dear Mom and Dad, I've read your emails and I understand exactly what you've been trying to do. It's clear now that this isn't about concern for me, my recovery, or even my well-being. It's about using me to fund my sister's lifestyle and keeping me under your control. I want to be very clear, I will not be sending you any money ever. I am done being treated as a source of income, a caretaker, or someone who exists to satisfy your expectations. I'm an adult now, and my life, my finances, and my decisions are my own. I will not be guilted, pressured, or manipulated into doing something I don't want to do. If your priority is to fund my sister's life, that is between you and her, not me. I am done sacrificing my time, energy, and money for anyone who doesn't value or respect me. Moving forward, I expect to be treated as an independent adult. That means no emails demanding money, no shouting, no attempts to manipulate me emotionally. I'm taking responsibility for my own life, my own happiness, and my future. I hope you can eventually respect that and let me go, because I want nothing to do with both of you anymore. I really hope that after this email, they finally leave me alone. I'm so tired of this constant back and forth and the unnecessary drama. For the first time in years, I just want some peace to live my own life without being guilt-tripped or yelled at. For everyone asking, my job is going really well. My colleagues are incredibly supportive and friendly, which makes the long hours and the challenges so much easier to handle. I'm learning a lot, growing professionally, and actually enjoying the work I do, something I never got to feel when I was constantly weighed down by family obligations. On top of that, living in my own apartment has been amazing. It's the kind of independence I've been dreaming about my whole life, and honestly, it feels incredible. Thanks to all your suggestions, I've also decided to start going for therapy. I think it'll help me process everything that's happened, set healthy boundaries, and fully reclaim my sense of self after years of being manipulated and taken for granted. Update 5. It's been 6 months since my last update, and things have escalated in a way I never expected. They've continued sending messages from different email accounts, constantly demanding money. Turns out my parents need my financial help to pay off their house mortgage, which they now stand to lose since my dad lost his job. I firmly refuse, but they don't seem to care. They keep pressuring me, guilt-tripping me, trying to make me feel responsible for their financial problems, as if it's my duty to bail them out just because I'm independent. Now, my sister has even joined in, creating new fake accounts to harass me, sending messages telling me I'm selfish and ungrateful. It feels like a relentless nightmare that I can't escape. Their constant harassment has taken a serious toll on my mental health. The anxiety, the sleepless nights, and the constant stress of not knowing what message or call will come next is exhausting. Even though I have done my best to go for therapy and focus on my job, this ongoing barrage has made me feel like I'm never truly free. So, after trying everything else, I finally decided to take legal action. I decided to meet up with a lawyer who sent cease and desist letters to my family, making it very clear that all forms of harassment must stop immediately. I never thought I'd have to involve a lawyer to protect my own mental health, but at this point, it feels like the only way to finally establish boundaries that they will respect. My lawyer has also made it clear to me that if my family still doesn't stop, we have the option to sue them for harassment and even obtain a restraining order. It's scary and surreal to have to take such extreme steps against my own family, but at this point, it's very much necessary. For the first time, I feel like I'm taking concrete steps to protect myself and my life from the toxicity I've dealt with for years. I'm hoping this will finally put an end to the harassment so I can fully focus on my life and my peace of mind.